Rain pelts the black umbrella held over the coffin. Emily Hart stands alone, her thrift store coat soaked through, clutching a crumpled funeral program. Around her, strangers in tailored suits murmur. Clara Whitaker, all designer heels and venom, leans toward a friend, loud enough. "Who is she? Margaret never mentioned a daughter. Did she crash the service?" The friend giggles. Emily stares at the casket, jaw tight. Why is she here? The woman inside disowned her at 16, yet here she is, while Clara smirks, snapping photos for her Instagram story. A rhetorical whisper to the audience. What happens when the forgotten heir returns, uninvited? Emily doesn't flinch. Not when Clara's laughter cuts through the drizzle. Not when a guest bumps her shoulder, muttering, "Wrong event, sweetheart." Her eyes stay fixed on the coffin. Margaret Hart's name glints in gold on the program. Her mother's final flourish. Yet no one here knows the truth. No one remembers the girl Margaret discarded at 16, left with nothing but a suitcase and a scarred heart. Clara adjusts her diamond earrings, whispering to a man in a cashmere coat. "She's probably here for the open bar." The man smirks. Others glance sideways at Emily, their gazes sharp as broken glass. She stands motionless, a relic in a sea of strangers who once called her heir with sneering irony. Why did she come? To hear strangers dissect her mother's life? To relive the rejection, or maybe to prove something? A server offers canapes. Emily declines. Her hands tremble, not from cold, but the weight of the past. Somewhere in the crowd, a phone screen flashes. Someone's filming her silence. Let them. She's waited 15 years for this moment. Who is Emily Hart? The question lingers, unspoken but electric. A ghost? A fraud? Or the one person here who knows Margaret Hart better than anyone dares imagine? Emily's boots sink into the wet grass, scuffed and speckled with mud from the city streets she walked here. Across the cemetery, Clara adjusts her pearl-studded clutch, laughing at something the cashmere-coated man says. Their voices blur into the rain, but the mockery is unmistakable. Emily doesn't look at them. Her gaze stays fixed on the coffin, her fingers brushing the photo tucked inside the program. A faded snapshot of Margaret holding a younger Emily's hand, both smiling under a sun hat. That woman is gone. The one who called her pathetic at 16. The one who erased her. A guest brushes past, knocking Emily's shoulder. "Excuse you," she mutters, but the woman doesn't turn. Around her, conversations hum. Stock portfolios, private jets, the latest Botox trends. Emily's coat clings to her frame, too thin for the cold, too plain for the crowd. She doesn't shiver, doesn't blink. Her silence is a wall. Flashback. Margaret's study, oak shelves lined with silver trophies Emily never won. "You're a burden," Margaret snaps, tossing a boarding school brochure. "I gave you every chance." Emily's voice cracks. "You never even tried." The door slams. 16-year-old Emily walks out, suitcase in hand, rain soaking her hair. Back in the cemetery, Clara raises her phone. "Smile, heir," she sneers, snapping a photo of Emily's face. The camera flash is sharp, sudden. Emily doesn't. Move. Let them post it. Let them tag her as a joke. They don't know about the letter in her pocket, the one Mr. Grayson handed her last night. Margaret's signature inked in bold. "To my daughter Emily." A server offers champagne. Clara accepts 2 glasses, sipping one like a queen. Emily declines. Her throat tightens. She remembers Margaret's birthday parties, the hired staff who never saw the girl hiding in the library, reading alone. The guests here, lawyers, investors, socialites, probably toasted Margaret's name 100 times. None knew her daughter existed. Clara's laughter rings again, louder now. "Poor thing," she stage whispers to the cashmere man. "She probably thinks we're her family." The man chuckles. Others join, a ripple of disdain. Emily's chest aches, but she straightens. For 15 years, she's lived without this world, without them. So why is she here? The security camera above the gate flicks toward her, red light blinking. She glances at it, a detail no one else notices. Somewhere, the truth waits, and Emily Hart is done being invisible. The luncheon unfolds in a grand hall draped in black silk and gold crests. Chandeliers glint above polished marble floors. Clara Whitaker perches at the head of the table, her stilettos tapping rhythmically against the floor as she gestures to the crowd. So, what's the plan? Do we call security? Or just let the charity case eat the canapes and leave? A ripple of laughter spreads. Nearby, the cashmere-coated man snaps a photo of Emily's untouched champagne flute, captioning it, "Free drinks for the air," before posting it to his Instagram story. Emily sits alone at the far end of the room, her back straight, eyes forward. The guests closest to her have vacated their chairs, leaving a visible void. A server offers her a plate of smoked salmon. She declines with a quiet shake of her head. Her stomach churns, not from hunger, but from the weight of the stairs. Across the table, a woman in a leopard print scarf leans toward Clara, whispering, loud enough, "She's here for the inheritance. Mark my words. Margaret would have hated her being here." Clara smirks. "Oh, I'm sure Margaret would have loved it," she says, raising her wine glass. "To the real Hart legacy, may it never be tainted." The table erupts in laughter. Someone clinks a fork against a glass, drawing attention. "Hey, heir," a man calls out. "You gonna give a speech? Tell us how you survived without all this?" Another guest mimics Emily's posture. Ramrod straight, hands folded, lips sealed, as the room giggles. Then the phones come out. Clara activates her Instagram Live, angling the camera toward Emily. "Ladies and gentlemen, our surprise guest of honor, Emily Hart, the long-lost daughter. Care to explain why you crashed the funeral, sweetheart?" The screen fills with comments. "Fake! Delete her! She's here for the money." Emily doesn't blink. Doesn't move. The live stream glitches, freezing on her stoic face, a perfect frame for mockery. Minutes later, the first meme appears. A pixelated image of Emily's face pasted onto Margaret's funeral urn, captioned, "Hart family heir," literally. Someone photoshops her into the Hart family portrait, scribbled with red ink, "Crash test dummy." The group chat explodes. Clara forwards the images to everyone, adding a caption. "Reminder, charity cases aren't allowed at the grown-ups table." The cruelty escalates. A guest slides a napkin across the table toward Emily. It's been scribbled on in bold marker, "Charity case." Another guest tosses a second napkin beside it. "Please return to your corner." Laughter erupts. Emily's fingers curl into her lap. Her breath hitches, but she forces her expression to remain neutral. The security camera in the corner pans slowly toward her, its red light blinking like a heartbeat. Clara stands, glass in hand. "I propose a toast," she announces, voice dripping with mock solemnity, "to Margaret Hart, visionary, matriarch, and, well, let's just say selective about who she called family." Glasses clink. Eyes dart to Emily. She doesn't look up, doesn't react. But inside, the silence cracks. Flashback. 16-year-old Emily, drenched in rain, suitcase in hand, standing at the gates of the Hart estate as the door slams shut behind her. "You're nothing," Margaret's voice echoes. "Nothing but a stain on this name." Back in the present, a server approaches with a dessert tray. Emily declines again. The server hesitates, then slips a folded napkin onto the table. "From the kitchen," they murmur softly. Emily unfolds it, a single line. "Stay strong. They don't know you." Her throat tightens. Across the room, Clara films a video for her followers. "So dramatic," she whispers, leaning into the lens. "Like she's waiting for a crown." The guests giggle. Phones buzz. The napkin memes multiply. Someone creates a TikTok trend. Fake Air Challenge, where users reenact Emily's funeral. Face. The security camera flicks toward the door. Red light blinking. Watching, Emily exhales. Let them laugh. Let them post. They don't see the script in her pocket. The one Mr. Grayson handed her last night, Margaret's signature looping in ink. "To my daughter Emily." They don't know she's been waiting for this moment. They don't know the truth is already on its way. The laughter hasn't faded when the double doors at the end of the hall swing open. A man steps inside, his presence slicing through the room like a blade. Mr. Jonathan Grayson, tall, silver-haired, and draped in a charcoal overcoat that screams authority, moves with deliberate calm. His eyes scan the table, landing on Emily. For a heartbeat, the room forgets to breathe. Clara is the first to react. "Jonathan, we didn't expect you here," she says, voice tight with confusion. Her hand tightens around her wine glass. Grayson doesn't acknowledge her. He strides forward, a leather folder clutched in his grip. "I apologize for the interruption," he announces, his voice echoing off the marble walls. "But there's a matter of urgent legal importance that requires the attention of everyone present." Emily straightens. Her pulse thrums in her ears. Clara scoffs, forcing a laugh. "Legal matters? At a funeral luncheon? How quaint." She gestures to the guests. "We're all aware Margaret left everything to the foundation. Move along, dear." Grayson doesn't blink. He stops at the head of the table, placing the folder before him like a bomb. "Actually, Ms. Whitaker," he says, leveling his gaze at her, "Margaret Hart did no such thing." Silence. A guest chokes on his champagne. Another drops a fork. Clara's smirk falters. Grayson flips open the folder. "This is Margaret Hart's final will and testament," he continues, holding up a document sealed with a crimson wax imprint. "Dated 2 days before her passing. Signed in the presence of 3 witnesses and notarized by my firm." He pauses, letting the weight of the words settle. "It names one sole heir, Emily Hart." The name hangs in the air. For a moment, no one moves. Then chaos erupts. "What?" Clara slams her glass down. "That's impossible. Margaret hated her." A woman in a navy dress gasps, clutching her pearls. "She disinherited her years ago." Emily sits motionless, her hands clenched in her lap. Her chest rises and falls, steady, controlled. She's waited 15 years to hear those words. Emily Hart, spoken as a claim, not a joke. Grayson raises a hand for quiet. "The will revokes all prior estate arrangements," he states, "effective immediately. Every asset, every holding, every cent in Margaret Hart's name now belongs to Emily Hart." The room splinters. Guests scramble for phones, frantically deleting memes and Instagram stories. Someone mutters, "Oh God, we're going to jail." Another whispers, "She's going to sue us." Clara's face pales, her earlier confidence crumbling. "This is a mistake," she hisses. "A fraud. Where was this will? Why didn't we see it before today?" Grayson's gaze sharpens. "Because Margaret entrusted it to me with explicit instructions. It was not to be opened until after her funeral, and only if she died, while Emily Hart was still alive." A beat. Emily's breath catches. "You mean she knew?" Someone whispers. Grayson nods. "Margaret Hart never stopped thinking about her daughter. Even when they were estranged, she ensured Emily would inherit everything if she proved she could endure the truth of this family." Clara recoils. "The truth? That we'd all turn on her? That we'd humiliate her?" Her voice cracks. "This is sick." Grayson ignores her. He turns to Emily. "Miss Hart, If you'd like to address the guests. Emily stands. The room watches her, a mix of horror and awe. She steps forward, her worn boots echoing against the marble. Clara shrinks back as if Emily might contaminate her. Emily stops beside Grayson. Her voice is quiet, but it carries. You spent the last hour deciding who I am. You called me a fraud, a charity case, a stain on this name. She glances at the napkin labeled charity case, still crumpled on the table. But none of you ever asked why I'm here. No one speaks. She meets Clara's eyes. I'm here because I earned this, and you just proved why I deserved it. The security camera in the corner flicks toward Clara, its red light blinking. Like a heartbeat. Outside, rain drums against the windows. Inside, the guests sit frozen, the weight of Margaret Hart's final judgment pressing down on them. Emily exhales. The silence isn't hers anymore. The room simmers in stunned silence. Glasses hover midair, phones freeze in trembling hands. Clara's knuckles whiten around her wine stem, her face a mask of disbelief. This is a joke, she mutters, but her voice lacks its usual bite. A trick. Margaret would never... Mr. Grayson flips open the leather folder again, extracting a sleek tablet. Then perhaps this will clarify matters, he says, tapping the screen. A projector hums to life overhead, casting a stark image across the marble wall. Margaret Hart, seated at her desk, her signature silver hair coiled into a loose bun. Her eyes, sharp, unflinching, stare directly into the camera. Gasps ripple through the room. Clara recoils as if slapped. If you're watching this, Margaret begins, her voice crisp yet weighted, then Emily has proven she deserves what was always hers. The camera pans slightly, revealing a stack of documents beside her. I disinherited my daughter publicly to test those who claim to love me, to see who would stand by her and who would feast on her suffering. Emily's breath hitches. She stares at the screen, her mother's face frozen in time, the voice both familiar and foreign. You all knew her as a child, Margaret continues. You watched her grow up in this house, heard her dreams, saw her potential. And yet, when I cast her out, not one of you fought for her. Not one of you asked why. Her gaze sharpens, as if piercing the crowd. You were content to let her vanish, to let me erase her. And now, here you are, mocking her at my funeral, exactly as I feared. A woman in the front row drops her phone. Another clutches her chest, whispering, "Oh God!" Clara surges to her feet. This proves nothing, she snaps, voice shrill. A video? A convenient last-minute will? This could have been staged, forged. She whirls to Grayson. Where's the money trail? The records? Show us proof she's anything. But a gold-digging fraud? Grayson doesn't blink. He hands Emily a second document. Miss Hart, would you like to explain? Emily steps forward, the paper trembling slightly in her grip. She scans the first page, bank statements, dated transfers, a series of payments made under the name Margaret Hart Foundation. Her throat tightens. These funds, she says, voice steadier than she feels, were used to pay for my education, overseas scholarships, private tutors, living expenses, all signed off by Margaret Hart herself. She lifts her gaze to the room. She may have disowned me publicly, but privately, she ensured I had a future. Clara gapes. Liar! Grayson taps the tablet again. The screen shifts to a live feed. A bank vault. A security guard holding up a metal box, stamped with the Hart family crest. Inside, Grayson says, you'll find additional documentation, letters, receipts, and a second sealed will, identical to the one I presented. He pauses. Would anyone care to verify this? No one moves. The security camera's red light blinks again. Steady as a heartbeat, Emily steps closer to the table, her voice soft but cutting. You spent hours today deciding who I am. You reduced me to a joke, a charity case, a stain on this family. But none of you ever asked why I stayed silent, why I didn't fight back when you humiliated me." She glances at Clara, her lips curling. "Maybe you should have." Clara's chair screeches as she shoves it back. "This changes nothing," she hisses. "You think we'll just roll over because you might have money? You're still the same pathetic girl Margaret threw. Away!" Emily's smile is ice. "No," she says. "I'm the girl she chose in the end." The room fractures. Guests scramble to delete memes, frantic fingers scrubbing social media histories. Someone whispers, "She'll sue us." Another mutters, "We're ruined." Clara's face twists. Her earlier confidence shattered. Margaret's voice booms from the projector once more, final and unyielding. "Emily Hart is my heir, my legacy. And if you're watching this, she's already passed the test. The rest of you?" Her eyes narrow. "You've failed." The screen goes black. Rain drums against the windows. The guests sit frozen, the weight of Margaret's judgment, pressing down like a tombstone. Emily exhales. The silence isn't hers anymore. The projector screen flickers. A low hum fills the room, a live feed suddenly cutting through the static. The image sharpens. A sleek boardroom, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. At the head of the table sits a man, silver-haired, sharp suit, eyes like steel. Daniel Voss, Emily's estranged father, the reclusive tech billionaire the world thought had vanished years ago. Gasps erupt. Clara's wine glass cracks in her grip. "You've all been asking the wrong question," Daniel says, his voice smooth yet edged with amusement. "Who is Emily Hart?" He leans forward, steepling his fingers. "The better question is, what is Emily Hart?" Emily doesn't flinch. She stands motionless, her face unreadable as the room erupts into panicked whispers. Daniel taps his tablet. The screen splits, replaying footage from the funeral. The security camera's POV of Emily adjusting her coat, her subtle glance toward the exit, the moment she slipped the napkin from the server into her pocket. "Everything you saw today was orchestrated," he continues. "The insults, the memes, the humiliation. Emily didn't endure it. She engineered it." Clara staggers back, her chair screeching. "Liar!" she shrieks, but her voice cracks. "She didn't know any of this would happen. She's just a pawn?" Daniel cuts in, arching a brow. "Hardly. Emily designed every detail. The napkin labeled charity case, she planted it. The Instagram live, she signaled Grayson when to cut the stream. Even the napkin. From the kitchen, the one telling her to stay strong. Forged. A test of loyalty?" His gaze locks on the room. "You were all subjects in an experiment." The guests freeze. Phones drop to the table like dead weight. Emily steps forward, her voice quiet but slicing. "You wanted to know why I came here," she says, addressing Clara. "You called me a fraud, a stain on this name. But I wasn't here for the money. I was here to see who you really are." She gestures to the screen. "My father and I wanted to know who would stand by me, and who would feast on my suffering." Clara's lips part, but no words come. Daniel taps again. The screen flashes with documents, emails, private messages, audio transcripts. One shows Clara texting a guest. "She's a joke. Let's milk this for all it's worth." Another reveals the cashmere-coated man laughing with investors. "Margaret would have hated her. We'll make sure she leaves empty-handed." "You passed judgment on Emily," Daniel says, "not knowing you were being judged in return. And you failed spectacularly." Clara lunges for her phone, scrambling to delete her own messages. "This changes nothing," she snaps, but her voice trembles. "She's still the same girl Margaret threw away." Emily smiles, a slow, icy curve of her lips. "No," she says, "I'm the girl who made you reveal your true selves. My mother tested loyalty, I tested character." She turns to the crowd. "And none of you measured up." The room fractures. Guests scramble to apologize, to erase their posts, to plead ignorance. A woman whispers, "We didn't know." A man mutters, "She set us up." Daniel's voice booms again. Emily's not just Margaret's heir, she's the architect of this entire event. And now, the consequences begin. The security camera's red light blinks once, sharp, final, as if sealing their fate. Outside, the rain falls harder. Inside, the guests sit paralyzed, the weight of their own cruelty crashing down. Emily exhales. The silence isn't hers anymore. The room pulses with panic. Guests scramble to delete posts, erase messages, plead ignorance. Clara's hands tremble as she grips her phone, frantic fingers tapping to untag herself from memes. "This is insane," she snaps, voice cracking. "You can't just humiliate us like this." Mr. Grayson steps forward, his posture rigid, a document held aloft. "The consequences were outlined in Margaret Hart's will," he announces, voice cutting through the chaos. Anyone who participated in the public shaming of Emily Hart, whether through words, actions, or digital means, will face immediate disassociation from the Hart estate and its holdings. A woman in a leopard print scarf gasps. "Disassociation? What does that mean?" Grayson's gaze sweeps the room. "It means termination, expulsion, legal repercussions for defamation, and public exposure of every cruel act committed here today." He pauses, letting the words sink in. "Starting with you, Ms. Whitaker." Clara recoils. "You can't do this," she shrieks, but her defiance cracks. "I'm Margaret's closest friend, her confidant, her parasite." Emily interrupts, calm yet lethal. She steps toward Clara, her worn boots echoing like a heartbeat. "You called me a stain on this name, but you're the one who used my mother's wealth to prop up your own ego. You never cared about her, only what she could give you." She glances at the napkin labeled charity case, still crumpled on the table. "Now you'll learn what it means to lose everything." Clara's face pales. "Emily, please, don't," Emily cuts in, her voice sharp. "You didn't plead for me when I was 16, freezing at the gates of this house. You didn't stand up for me when my mother threw me away. Why would I stand up for you now?" Clara stumbles back, knocking over her chair. A guest murmurs, "She's serious." Another whispers, "We're ruined." Grayson taps the tablet again. The projector screen flashes with headlines. Socialite Clara Whitaker exposed in viral scandal. Tech investor caught mocking heir in funeral meme. Hart estate bans over 30 guests for cruelty. The guests gape, phones buzzing, with breaking news alerts. Effective immediately, Grayson continues, Ms. Whitaker is barred from all Hart-owned properties, businesses, and trusts. Her advisory role at the Margaret Hart Foundation is revoked. Her social media accounts will be flagged for harassment, and her financial ties to the estate will be severed. He turns to the cashmere-coated man. Mr. Langley, your partnership with Hart Industries is terminated. Your assets under their management will be frozen pending legal review. Langley chokes on his wine. This is blackmail. It's accountability, Emily says. Security arrives. 2 uniformed officers, flanking the doors. Grayson gestures to Clara. You've been given a formal eviction notice. Leave peacefully, or we'll proceed with detainment. Clara's eyes widen. You're threatening me? No, Emily says, smiling coldly. I'm giving you the dignity of walking out yourself, unlike the dignity you stole from me. Clara hesitates, then storms toward the exit, her heels clicking like a countdown. Langley follows, muttering curses. Others scramble after them, some sobbing, others silent with dread. As the door slams shut, Emily turns to the remaining guests, the few who stayed quiet, who didn't post memes, who avoided cruelty. Among them, the server who slipped her the napkin stands, hands clasped. Emily nods. You, she says, and anyone else who chose kindness over cruelty, you'll be contacted with details. She glances at Grayson. Rewards for loyalty, just as my mother intended. Outside, rain drums against the windows. Inside, the air feels lighter. The security camera's red light blinks once, final, satisfied, as if sealing their fate. Emily exhales. The silence isn't hers anymore. The server who slipped Emily the napkin stands awkwardly by the exit. Hands clasped. Emily approaches, her expression softening. "You," she says quietly, "and the others who chose kindness. You'll receive a letter tomorrow." She pulls an envelope from her coat, a check signed, along with a scholarship application for the man's daughter. "This isn't charity," she adds. "It's gratitude for remembering that dignity costs nothing." Outside, the rain slows to a drizzle. Guests who avoided cruelty linger, uncertain. Emily nods to Grayson, who hands them sealed letters, invitations to join the Hart Foundation's new advisory board. A woman in a navy dress accepts hers with trembling fingers. "You didn't laugh at me," Emily says simply. "That matters." She steps into the cemetery alone, the coffin now lowered into the earth. Margaret's gravestone reads, "Visionary, matriarch, survivor." Emily kneels, placing a single daisy on the soil, the same flower her mother once tucked behind her ear when she was small. "You wanted to test loyalty," she murmurs. "I wanted to test truth." A pause. Maybe we both got our answers. Flashback, 16-year-old Emily, suitcase in hand, walking away from the Hart estate. Margaret's voice echoes, "You're nothing but a stain on this name." Back in the present, Emily exhales. "No," she whispers. "I'm the one who made you see who you really were." The security camera's red light blinks one last time, then fades to black. Voiceover. "Judgment isn't about power. It's about how you treat the powerless." Emily walks away, her shadow stretching across the wet grass. The guests watch. Her go. The weight of her silence heavier than any verdict. The moral lingers, unspoken yet undeniable. True legacy isn't inherited. It's earned by how you lift or destroy those who cross your path. Emily walks away, her silhouette framed by the gray sky. The camera lingers on the graffiti behind her. "Judge less, live more," scrawled in bold white letters. A final line fades onto the screen. Simple, stark. Legacy isn't about blood, it's about choice. She turns, locking eyes with the camera. Not a smirk, not a tear, just quiet certainty. "You watched them judge me," she says. "Now ask yourself, what did you test the world for today?" The screen cuts to black. A single question pulses in white text. "Who are you when no one's watching?"